Today on This Week in Startups, Chris Hulls, the CEO of Life360, joins us. We're going to give advice to a caller who has simply lost his passion. And a bona fide real newscaster, Mark Thompson, is here in the studio reading us the tech news, all that and more. Today on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money and defeat you.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another This Week in Startups. It's episode number 93. We are cooking with bacon. We're starting a little earlier here on a Tuesday at 11 or so a.m., 11:30, because, hey, we're leaving later today for Open Angel Forum San Francisco / Palo Alto. We put them together. We'll be up at 5A5 tonight. Our favorite steakhouse with that Wagyu is so good.
Unreal.
Unreal. And we're going to try something after OAF, which is?
The after party.
The after party. After the party, we go to the hotel lobby.
Right.
That's all. No, after Open Angel, everybody's like, oh my God, Open Angel Forum, not so open.
Right.
We said, okay, you know what? It's a meeting, but after the meeting between the investors and the 6 great companies, we're going to have drinks.
Right.
So if anybody hears my voice, and it's Tuesday, November the 9th? November 9th? Yeah. Tonight, Tuesday, at 9:45 p.m., 5A5 Steak Lounge. We'll be there having drinks. Although you're not coming because you're busy with your startup.
Which is killing me because
you love that Wagyu.
is like my favorite place.
Man, that Wagyu tasting plate. Unbelievable.
Unreal.
The other good news, then we leave on Wednesday for Seattle, for Open Angel Forum Seattle, the first one. Mm-hmm. It's a mob scene, literally 25 angels, because there's so many Microsoft millionaires up there. They all want to angel invest. Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you have a startup and you can't get funding or people, I just suggest going to Seattle right now, because I think that that's the place where there's not enough startups for all the people who want to work at them and all the people who want to invest in them. Move your startup to Seattle. That's my advice. Anyway, we'll be up there on Wednesday, but there's going to be no after Open Angel Forum there, because
I heard
they started a poker game. So now, competing with the after OAF movement, people want to play poker with me now. Which is why playing poker on this television show like I did is the greatest thing I ever did. Right. Now everybody wants to play poker constantly. So next week at the Web 2.0 conference, I'm probably going to host a secret poker game. Although maybe not so secret now that 100,000 people have heard it.
What do you play for at these games? Jelly beans or? We
play for points.
Yeah.
A point-based system. You could call them jelly beans if you like.
Sure.
But generally people buy in for 1,000 to 3,000 points. And there's 1 or 2 tables going with, you could say 20,000 points per table at any given point in time. It's probably, I would say at the game that did not occur at the D conference, there could have been 50,000 points in play. I was up 7,000 points in 2 sessions. Plus 7,000 points. It's incredible.
It's a lot of jelly beans.
It's a lot of jelly beans. And you know what else is incredible? SendGrid. SendGrid is a new advertiser. I'm thrilled to welcome them to the program. And when I told you, SendGrid is sponsoring the program.
Yes.
You immediately have.
Oh my God! I use SendGrid.
You use SendGrid.
Yes.
Explain to our audience what is SendGrid and why you're in love with it.
SendGrid specializes in what's called transactional email delivery.
Transactional email.
Right.
Okay.
Which is a complicated way to say that when you sign up for an account at a new web service, you go online and you sign up for some new site. They power the registration email that you get, and the reset your password that you get.
All those very important emails.
You just followed somebody, or somebody just followed you. Yeah,
they're like system emails.
But those are mission critical type emails. Like if somebody doesn't get their password changed.
Like when I get all of the Forms Spring emails that I get like 10 every week.
Right.
They use SendGrid.
Right. I don't know that FormSpring does.
No, they do. I have it right here.
I know.
Get Satisfaction. I get a lot of those.
Right. I heard about it through Cocodot.
Oh, Cocodot, Sean Gold's company.
And they send those beautiful invites.
Yeah. And if you miss a wedding invite or
toast,
baby
right.
shower invite, that's got to get through.
These are mission critical, yeah.
And SendGrid has the best delivery system for getting through all those spam filters.
Been flawless for me and Coconut as well.
Wow.
So.
I mean, and if you just look at the list of people using it, Foursquare, Hootsuite, SlideShare, and Get Satisfaction, we all know those companies. They're great. Hey, and SendGrid is actually hiring. So if you are a web applications engineer, back-end engineer, a technical support developer, or a sales and marketing guru, hey, go check them out. And they are graduates of Techstars. Yep. So everybody remembers Techstars. David Cohen.
Yep.
Brad Feld in Boulder, running a great program there. And I'm really excited that they've come and decided to support independent media. You nailed it. I mean, I'm reading the notes here, but you said it. These examples include account registration, password reset notifications, purchase receipts, friend follower requests. This stuff all needs to get through, and SendGrid's going to get it through for you, and they're going to do it just in a very affordable, professional way.
And the simplicity of it was the first
thing. Very simple.
Yeah, the team I was working with, these developers, I was like, I think this is what SendGrid does, and within half an hour they had it all up and running. It was crazy.
Hey, I really appreciate SendGrid supporting the program and the network. And if you appreciate them supporting independent media, that is free. I mean, you don't pay for the show, and we all get a lot of value out of our time together. Just thank @SendGrid. Thank you @SendGrid for supporting Pound Twist. Good job, SendGrid. Okay, so today we have a very, very interesting interview. Chris Hulls is with us. I saw this company and said, this is a very interesting thing. You know, now they got a family, you know, you want your family to be safe. And they're in this area of, you know, keeping your family safe. And so I'm going to let him explain his product. Chris Hulls of Life360, are you on the line?
I'm on the line. Thanks for having me, Jason.
Hey, wow, look at that. We have actual fidelity, and you have a step and repeat behind you.
Yeah, we have a great marketer. He likes getting our brand out there.
Everybody know what a step and repeat is,
right? Like when you go to an event on the red carpet and they have the
You know why
logo.
they call it a step and repeat?
No, Jason, why do they call it step and repeat?
Because the logo repeats
Oh, okay.
as you step by. No, I don't know. But
Can we cue the Jason Insight track,
exactly.
please?
There is no insight. No, but it is a step and repeat is a very cool thing. This is very professional. You can tell this guy's got his stuff together.
Yeah.
Because you can actually see the logo there. Very subtle. Okay, so Chris, tell me, what does Life360 do?
So we're ultimately trying to be the place you go to protect your family, and we're primarily a mobile company, and our vision is to turn every smartphone into the ultimate family safety device. So turn your phone into the next OnStar. And there are three things you can do with our service, three core things. We let you know where your family members are, either using our mobile app or a physical GPS device. We let you know what the threats are in your neighborhood, like are there registered sex offenders nearby? And then we also let you know when anyone in your family is safe or needs help. So we have a new feature we recently just launched. It's almost like a Foursquare for safety, where you can hit a panic button, everyone in your family gets a phone call, email, and text message with your location. And we also have a check-in feature where we're seeing moms are giving their kids our app and just telling them, hey, check in every couple hours. Mom finds out that their kids are safe, and we have this weird social contract where parents and kids are getting along, and the kids are liking each other. So that's.
Your sound just cut out there on the last one. You said there was a social contract now. Explain
Yeah, so a big concern that we had when we launched was, that we're going to be these huge pariahs, and kids are going to hate us, and teenagers are just going to refuse to have Life360 on their phones. But we're finding out that the kids are actually liking it because it gives them a deal to say, like, hey, Mom, I'm going to run this app. Now just leave me alone. And Mom's like, okay, if I know where you are and you check in every couple hours, we have a deal.
Okay, so as a parent, I give my child a smartphone. It's got GPS on it, and
Yep.
I have that as well. My wife has it. My spouse has it. Maybe the two other siblings. We have 3 kids, let's say. I'm just making this up. I have 1 kid. And then we all check in wherever we are. And if somebody has a problem, I don't know, kid gets beat up after school, or people threaten to beat him up after school, like you just press a button and say, hey, panic. I'm stuck in a pizzeria, and there's people outside who want to beat me up, and everybody can come running.
Exactly.
I wish I had this growing up in Brooklyn. My dad just basically told me, here, keep a roll of quarters in your backpack. I said, what am I going to do with this roll of quarters? He said, you put it in your fist, and anybody says anything to you, you just punch them in the face with a roll of quarters in your hand. That's it.
That's Brooklyn style.
Yeah, that was life. That was life with the roll of quarters for me. So you say that the kids who kids are going to be pissed off about this technology. I mean, if you're a kid and your parents say, "Hey, I want to know where you are at all times," that's kind of like what they call helicopter parenting. It's not cool to have your parent do that. So what you're saying, your advice to parents is what? Like, ask your child that, "Hey, you do a deal. I need you to check in every 45 minutes, every hour." Something?
Yeah, we usually say a couple times a night. So we're hearing two things. Parents are asking their kids, "Hey, check in when you get home from school," or "Check in by 10 o'clock and I'll extend your curfew an hour."
Oh yes, we did that too. Give a call and then you will you can extend it. So when did you start the company and what was the inspiration?
So we got started in earnest back in 2008. The inspiration for the company was a little before that. It was after Hurricane Katrina, seeing what the government was doing to suggest to people to get more prepared for disasters. And they came up with this concept, Ready.gov, and they spent over $1 billion marketing their technology initiative to prevent another Katrina. And all it really was a site you could go to and download PDF forms. They're like, "Hey, download this PDF. Put your emergency contacts on it, and then stick it on the refrigerator, and no more Katrinas." So I'm being a little flippant. It wasn't that extreme, but my thought was technology could really be used to make a much more elegant solution. So that got us going, and we quickly found out that the applications were much broader than disasters. The people that were really excited about what we were doing were parents that had kids still at home. So we quickly became a child safety company, and we got some initial backing from Google on the Android Developer Challenge, and that put us very heavily on mobile platforms and gave us an early jump there.
Okay, so you say you won this Android Developer Challenge. Was that a Google-sponsored challenge or something?
Yep, it was a Google-sponsored event a couple of years ago, right around the time the G1 was launching. They were trying to get people to develop for the platform when it was very nascent and new. So we used it that way to put together a team and be scrappy. At the time, we had no money, and we used that to get developers. It's actually how I met my co-founder.
And finding it, are you also a programmer and technical, or are you non-technical?
I'm non-technical. I was a business major.
So very hard to find a technical co-founder, correct?
It was very hard. I struggled a bit, and this was a great way to do it. I had a brief stint in investment banking before this, and my overlap with the technical sphere at the time was very limited. So it was perhaps one of my biggest challenges.
What do you think the keys are for a non-technical founder to recruit a technical founder? Like, how do you go about doing it? What are the conversations? How much equity do you offer them? Take us through how you accomplish this and what you think the best practices are.
Sure. So I think first I learned the hard way about how hard it was and how you really do need a great technical guy on the team. I tried outsourcing to India, fell flat on my face. But I think what ultimately worked was showing respect for what they can bring, understanding that they're extremely critical, perhaps more important than the business guy. And then I started networking my way into different events, getting just up to speed on tech myself so I can talk comfortably about the different programming languages and what people need to know to do different things. And I just started showing up everywhere to everything I could find. And then with the developer challenge, it was a great way for me to get my idea out there and just say, "Hey, look, I got this great idea. Here's an opportunity we can win a prize. We can get some money to get started. Who's going to join me?" So I think what made me very successful, I had a ton of developers wanting to work with me. It's because I was very transparent in what I wanted to do. I wasn't in stealth mode. He said, "Hey, like, this is the idea." I wrote a spec. I did my wireframes, and I just put them live for the world to see. And then I just started looking at who came in, who was interested. Also entered the Berkeley and Stanford business plan competitions, and ultimately had quite a few people to choose from.
So you get out there with an incomplete idea and product. You try a little outsourcing. It doesn't work out. Everybody knows that's sort of a short-term solution in general. You really need to have a technical people in your company if you're going to have a technology company, obviously. And so people get interested. These technical co-founders get interested. do they start working on spec? What kind of deal do you say, like, hey, if we win the competition or if we work well together, then I will give you equity, or we'll have that discussion? Or do you have that discussion before they start work?
So it's been arranged. So when I was really looking for a co-founder, it was like pretty clear that this would be someone who comes on and is completely equivalent to me as an equal partner in the company. But we also were looking just for other coders to participate around the same time. We got, I think, 4 coders from the Android Developer Challenge just to really knock out a prototype quickly. And we did it 2 ways. We said, all right, the top prize is $300K. We know it's a long shot to win, but if we do, what we're going to do is we're going to keep half of the company, and we're going to give out the rest half pro rata to everyone who worked on the project relative to the number of hours they put in. And plus, we also gave a bit of equity to everyone, just structured as some convertible debt. So we agreed on a rate. We said, oh, okay, take this rate, we'll multiply it out by the hours you worked, and then we'll give you a note from the company that comes in at our next equity round of financing.
So you were very, very specific, and you did either a letter agreement or contract or some sort of email contract agreement with all the parties, and you did that in detail. I'm assuming that's your advice. Have the tough conversation first before people start working?
Yeah, I think definitely have the conversation first. I wouldn't say you need to pin out every legal detail, but I think I've learned that when you have 2 people in the room, you're going to end up with disagreements and different memories of past history. So I've always tried to be exceptionally explicit in terms of what we're offering people, what the risks are. The last thing I want is anyone to feel they got a raw deal or uninformed in any decision they made. So with everyone we've brought on, even now with hiring, we're just very explicit, and I want to make sure that everyone completely understands every term in their employment agreement and understands what they're getting, how it relates to the overall big pie, so there aren't any confusions or potential for hard feelings down the road.
So you're transparent with the entire team with the cap table or with their portion of the cap table? They know how many shares they have in relation to the total outstanding shares?
Exactly. Everyone we have in the company individually, it's private, but in relation to the total outstanding shares, yeah, everyone knows where they stand.
That's great. And so, question from the audience, Ramvaz asks, hey, what did you have to give up pay for a technical co-founder? It seems like you're saying you gave them the same deal you had, to have the equal amount of equity as you do.
Yeah, I did, and I probably could have been a little tighter on that, but I learned the hard way how important it was. At the time I was just a couple years out of school. I found a guy who was much more experienced than me, 10 years older. He was used to making a lot more money than me, and I thought it's worth it to give up half of my shares, even though I put a little more time into it, if it's going to get the product off the ground. 'Cause I've seen a lot of friends who were business majors with me. They try to get going, and they completely flop because they just can't get anything shipped. So I often hear a lot about how the risks in startups, it's really not execution risk. It's all sales and marketing, and I think that's definitely true for a company once it's past its seed round or Series A. But for a business guy, getting that product done is an absolutely huge risk, and I can see how you can spin your wheels forever trying to do that if you don't have that person who's living and breathing it with you and can actually ship the product on their own in-house.
It makes it a lot easier to manage the relationship if the person feels like you've actually been more generous with them than you had to be, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
And so what's the status of the company now? I mean, you were at Harvard Business School for, what, a year, and then you left and gave up year 2?
So I actually got in, and then I said, you know what, I don't even want to go. I want to work on the startup. Will you let me postpone my admission and either come back as a huge success or a massive failure? And they said, yeah, go for it. So
basically, Harvard Business School, for people who don't know, the most competitive business school in the world, I think. Maybe 1 out of every 300, 400, 500 people get in. Is that around correct, Chris?
1 in 100, I think.
It's definitely competitive. I think it's under 10% get in, I think.
Yeah. And most people don't even apply. It's also wildly expensive. I mean, isn't it like $75,000 a year or something all in?
Yeah, on average, it's about $150K for the 2-year programs.
And so you instead go start a company instead of going into debt for $150, I assume, or some portion of that. Was it the right decision?
I think it's one of those things. As hindsight's always 20/20. I'm definitely glad that I took the risk, I think it's always interesting when you see billionaires saying, "Oh, of course, do a startup, follow your dreams." I'll be the first to admit, it's definitely a scary thing, and we've made a huge amount of progress. We have a lot of users in our system. I'm optimistic for our future. I'm happy I made the decision, but I'm not going to be the rosy rah rah guy that a lot of people are. I mean, it's been a long struggle, definitely, and I've seen my friends who I worked with when I was at Goldman, and also now finished at Harvard, and they have cushy lives. I do not, but I'm doing what I love.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're one of those Harvard MBA types, you could easily have a six-figure fat expense account, Goldman Sachs, Ferengi-like existence, moving other people's products around, and you have not chosen to do that. Again, happy with that decision? Are you conflicted about that decision? Are there days you feel like, you know what, this is too hard, I would like to just collect a paycheck, a large one, at Goldman?
I'm happy I did it. They're definitely the rough days, for sure. I mean, I think if someone says they don't have them, they're probably lying. But overall, I feel good about it, and I think it's something that if I didn't do, I would have always been wondering if I kept my investment banking job. I'm sure it would be one of those lifelong regrets, and this way I'll know if I can do it. So I'm happy with this, and I think I've probably caught the bug. So it's too late for me to go back into the banking world or any of the more standard corporate tracks. So I guess that could be a word of warning to people. I think it's very easy to say you'll do one startup and that'll be it, but I'm pretty sure once you get a couple of years into one, you're marked for life.
You are currently raising a Series A, or you've closed a Series A. I heard Dave McClure's somehow involved. What's the status of the financing?
We're doing another round right now. We did a seed round about a year ago, about $1 million, and now we're raising a $3 million Series A.
And who was involved in the Series A, and how did you go about raising that?
Sure. So we had guys like Dave McClure, as you mentioned. He invested through Founders Fund. We had Mark Goines, great super angel. We had Launch Capital and Seraph Group, plus a couple other smaller angel investors. And we did it in follow-on by being a part of the Facebook Fund. So we did the Facebook Fund in the summer of 2009, and we used that to launch the product right when that finished. We started getting some decent feedback. We saw that people were really interested. We proved that it worked, and we used the contacts we had from winning the Android Developer Challenge and then being a part of the Facebook Fund to get in touch with some good seed investors and close a round.
Tell me about these persistent GPS trackers. I mean, obviously, some people have a smartphone, but maybe you don't want to give your kid a smartphone. Maybe you just want them to have a GPS tracker or have a GPS tracker in the car. I see on the site, you mentioned before that you support these GPS locator devices. How well do these work? How long does the charge last? How often do they update? How do you advise people to get these, and how much do they cost?
Sure. So basically, you can think of these as a cell phone. They actually are a T-Mobile cell phone in a little box. So they last between 2 to 5 days, depending on the conditions they're being used in, and they update by default every 15 minutes. So they really are great for a kid who doesn't have a smartphone. We sell them for $100 plus $10 a month. Or if you sign up for our premium plan, you can get one included for free. That's $180 a year. So it is a lot cheaper than getting your kid a phone. So if you're sending a child a trip across the country to visit grandma and grandpa, or they're starting to walk downtown on their own, they are very helpful, and they do give parents peace of mind.
But they only last for 2 days, 5 days.
Just plug it back in.
What's that?
That's on one charge, so you can just plug them in once a week, and it works.
Yeah, I mean, these. I wonder if people are just throwing these in the glove compartments of cars and using them instead of having a low jack. I mean, it would seem to work. Yeah.
We actually have a car kit you can get. We got more people asking about that, so you can hardwire it into your car battery, and that is it's becoming a use case we hear of more and more. We actually had a customer use us to track a cattle thief. We get some pretty crazy stories. So it was a farmer somewhere out in the Midwest, and they asked if they could put it on a car, and because they thought someone was stealing their cattle, and they thought they knew who it was. So we actually were able to bring a cattle thief to justice with one of our trackers.
What are some of the other stories, and how many people are currently using the product?
So we have on our mobile app, which is the primary way to get customers, we're about 300,000 users, and at current growth rates, we'll be over 1 million within the next year. And we get a lot of interesting stories and great responses from parents. It's always gratifying to me when we hear about people using features that aren't necessarily what they came in for in the app. So a big challenge with us is being discoverable. So how do people find Life360? And there've been some products we've had, like our sex offender monitoring service, which doesn't resonate to me as a 27-year-old dude, but moms love it. And they come in for something like that, and then they see our check-in service, and they really start using it. So we've heard a lot of stories from our customers saying, hey, I didn't know you could do this. It's so great. My kids actually like this because they kind of get a longer leash, and I'm getting peace of mind. So thank you so much. So that's great.
When you say you have 300,000 users, number of people who've registered or downloaded the app, some percentage of those have converted to paid?
Yeah. Right now we're mainly focusing on building the engaged user base, but yeah, we definitely have a decent number of paying users out there as well.
And so after 7 days, $20 a month for a family membership of 6 people. How did you come up with the pricing?
We did a lot of different testing, and we tried to see it should be per child, per family, and it seemed like in the end people just wanted something simple, and the comfort point was around $10 a month per person. So if someone has one kid, they're also maybe protecting a spouse. A $20 a month price point was something that would leave us a great margin. It would give our customers access to a very broad set of family safety services. And psychologically, it's very interesting, just from a testing standpoint, how you could see these huge shifts in conversion for very small price breaks. So it seems like at $5, it's a massive break. And if you're going to go over 5, you might as well go to 10. And if you go over 10, well, you might as well go to $99.
Ah, I see. So when you did this testing, you saw, hey, no difference between 14, 16, 18, 20. We might as well go with 20.
Exactly.
What are the costs of this business aside from building the software? I mean, it feels like this is one of those great businesses where it's fixed cost.
Yeah, for the most part, the variable costs to support a user are very low. The only thing that really costs us anything now is the physical GPS device, and then the carrier fees to support that. So if you use any of our purely software-based products, it's very inexpensive for us to support. We do have some costs associated with our panic alerts and our check-in function because that sends phone calls and text messages. Right now we're giving that away for free. It's probably going to have a premium service down the road, but still relative to some of the legacy brick and mortar businesses, it's very, very low variable costs.
Seems like people would use this product a lot. And obviously there's a desire to use it, and it's sort of check-in with a purpose, other than socialization, which is pretty compelling. Why not make it free and ad-supported, or at least have that as an option for people who can't afford $240 a year, which, let's face it, for some families is going to be significant?
So if you go into our mobile app, the check-in service is a free service, so that is the plan. I don't think we want to be an ad-supported business. We want to maintain, hey, we're like a serious company. This is safety and security. We don't think that's very congruent with being ad-based. And you don't have to buy all our services. You can go a la carte. So if you go to our site, you can take any specific premium product we have, buy that individually, and that actually isn't as expensive.
Yeah, if you have questions for our guest, Chris Hulls, who is the CEO and co-founder of Life360, you can tweet it and just make sure you put #twist, TWIST, or you can ask in the ustream.tv/thisweekin chat room. Tyler, are there any questions, or do you have any questions?
Yeah, so Rambaz asks, how are you handling distribution, and what are some of the overall marketing? Distribution and marketing techniques. What's your number one customer acquisition technique at this point?
So one thing we think is great is just how quickly mobile is exploding. When we started the company, we always saw mobile was the long-term way to go, but the smartphone platforms were very, very early, and even now they're still a little rough, but we have seen mobile just blowing up in the last 12 months, specifically the last 6 months. iPhone 4 has heralded, I think, the coming of age of location-aware services, and with guys like Foursquare educating the space, people are going to the app stores and looking for products like this. So we do a lot of web-based stuff still, too. But I really get excited with mobile because it's such a greenfield opportunity. The bigger guys haven't rushed in, and there are a lot of tactics you can learn to do very well there and acquire users very cost effectively.
So a follow-up question from J.C. Posner. How do you keep data safe on the back end? Is the status data encrypted?
Great question.
So all the private data is all done through HTTPS. So we're very sensitive about that. Our site's completely in HTTPS. Yeah, a little bit more of a server load, but we think it's worth it to make sure we're keeping our user data safe because obviously it's a very sensitive issue.
You were talking before about the struggles. What has been the single most challenging thing for you as an entrepreneur thus far?
I think it's putting together a good team and managing a team. I know you hear all these cliches about why a team's so important, and I think starting out, I think everyone realizes, yeah, you have to have good people, but I think if you're like me and you're starting a company and your only experience has been working at a place like Goldman Sachs where everyone's self-motivated, it's very clear, process-driven, everyone knows what they have to do, and then getting thrown into a startup where you're going to be scrappy, you're not going to have a lot of money to hire top people all the time. Finding those guys, motivating them, keeping everyone on the same page has been a humbling experience for me to go through. I've got a lot better at it, and I think it's something that you cannot overestimate the difficulty of and the importance of. And I've seen it's very interesting with a small group just how tough it is to keep communications going, to keep everyone on the same page, making sure everyone's working towards the same goal in the short term. That's been, I think, the biggest challenge. It's also what leaves me very optimistic now that I've got a lot better at recruiting and running a team and we're efficient. I can see why that gives us a sustained advantage over groups that aren't running on all cylinders.
So what's the biggest mistake that you've made in team building that you've since corrected?
That's a tough question.
Well, be honest. The audience appreciates authenticity and honesty. What did you suck at, and what have you corrected in your own personality, your own failing? What is your big failing in terms of team building?
I think there'd be a couple things. The first is I remember early on, we started out of UC Berkeley's incubator, so it was a great way to get interns. So our first summer, I got like a ton of interns. They worked for free, and I think I learned that more does not equal better. I've internalized the whole concept much more of keep it small, but only hire the best. It's much better to go without someone than get the wrong guy. So we have had a couple people that just didn't work out, and so I am much more picky about who I work with. I'm much more slow about bringing new people on, and a bad person is clearly. It can bring the entire company back. And I think on a corollary to that, a good person, take engineers, for example, a good engineer versus an average engineer, it's not a linear difference. It's not even a 10 times difference. It could be 100 times different. So you have become more discerning and better at hiring. You're taking your time now. You're not just ramming and jamming, trying to fill seats. And if somebody doesn't work out, you're very quick to get rid of them. Yeah, and I think sounds like a huge cliche, I think I just said, but I felt that looking at cliches in startups is everyone has them, we've all heard them, but I think there's a big difference between knowing what they are and actually deeply understanding them. And I think most of the big cliches we've all heard actually have very, very strong roots in reality, but just learning how to apply those lessons and understand why they are the way they are and what advice to take and how to act on that, it's been very interesting.
Knowing that people all say all the time, hire slow and fire fast is one thing. However, being able to put that to action is extremely difficult when you've got a deadline and you're trying to hit it, and this guy comes in and you know what, he's not Mr. Personality or Mrs. Personality, but you get them in there and then they're the wrong person, but they're getting the job done, and it's now I got to get rid of them, and it's going to take 6 months to fire. It's really difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, and psychologically, one of those other cliches about how a startup CEO should be recruiting a lot and spending their huge amount of time there. you don't like going around interviewing people tons of times. You meet a lot of good people, and I think psychologically you get invested in them, and it's you want to make the hire, and it's you also can very easily rationalize any decision you make. So it's tough to stay objective.
It is. It's. I have learned in my career that talent wins. Focus on product wins. And it seems like you've done a really good job building a quality product, and you're learning quickly how to build a great team. I wish you great success, Chris Hulls, and thank you for being on the program. Everybody, make sure to follow at Life360.com, and why not just go to the App Store and try it? I'm going to when I get off the program. Chris, if somebody wanted to come work for your fine company and they were a samurai who was going to crush it, how would they contact you?
They can send me a note personally, Chris at Life360.com. I'll make sure to get back to anyone interesting. And speaking of hiring, I think the number one hire I like and I want to make and I wish we had early on was the most amazing product guy in the world. So someone just amazing, building interfaces with a design background. I can't again overestimate, I think, how important it is to have that in a product. Right now, I've been kind of the de facto UI guy. And so if someone is interested in solving that problem for us, we'd love to have you.
Email Chris at Life360.com. You can always tell a great CEO and startup leader when their email is first name at company name, and they're more than willing to give it out, and they say, just email me. That's leadership. And I agree. Product, critical, and it's very hard, very, very hard to be a product-driven CEO and be the CEO at the same time. You've seen that here with me at Mahalo. Got Jason Rapp in here to be president so he could manage the explosive growth we've had up to whatever we got here, 60, 70 people. Now I can focus on product again, and isn't it working out like it's like sort of like the old days where I'm able to focus my energy again on product. Very difficult, and the adage is also true, product wins. Chris, thanks for being on the program.
Thanks for having me.
And I'd also like to thank Storm On Demand. StormOnDemand.com. Boy, these guys have been great to us. They are, they're cloud. I mean, obviously it's cloud computing, but you have to understand they're hosting 23, 24 shows a week that are getting downloaded. Some of these shows, like this show, get downloaded 100,000 times. Boy, these guys are total menches, and they have been supporters of us from essentially the beginning of the network. Not the beginning of my show, because my show predated the network, obviously. But since the beginning of the network, they've been behind us. And as you know, in the early days, it was a little rocky downloading so many shows. I mean, you have this, like, your download will be done in 8 days. And now, download's going to be done instantly. Let's bring in Mark Thompson. Oh, no, wait, not yet.
Ask Jason.
It's Ask Jason time. Yeah. Oh, my favorite part of the program. Well, it's really everybody's favorite part. All right, Thomas, you're on the line. Do I see Thomas there?
Hi, Jason. How are you?
I'm good. I like that headset. You look like you're ready to land a 747. Where are you calling from?
Sorry, I have no step and repeat behind me. No venture capital here in Germany, so...
Yeah, that's okay. Well, you have a green screen. You could actually fake it. You're calling from Germany. Where? Are you in Munich or Berlin, or where are you from?
I'm in Frankfurt.
Frankfurt, okay.
Area.
And so, Thomas from Frankfurt, what is your question?
Well, my question is, I have a small web development business here in Germany called The Evolution, doing websites and CMS client work with the typical 37 signals approach, building great products on the site until you don't need the clients anymore. I've created a really nice productivity tool called PomodoroHelper.com, which aims to be simply easier than getting things done. But now I'm stuck with a problem a lot of entrepreneurs have. I lost my passion. Everything is running smoothly with the client work, but I'm really struggling on product space. You can't really create something great if you don't hustle, and I don't really want to create something mediocre. So simply my question is, how can I get my passion back? Besides calling at your great show, obviously. Yeah,
it's difficult. Your passion can wane as an entrepreneur. The world can beat you up. I've had probably two of the toughest weeks of my life. I got a family member who had surgery last week, very close family member who has cancer, and I've been dealing with a lot. Obviously, you've seen there's a lawsuit. It stays like that, like you don't want to get out of bed, and you're like, I got to give up. But then you remember just how much fun it is to work with great people and to win and to produce great products. And if you look back on your life, you know, winning and working towards that win, at least for me, it's some of the most thrilling moments in my life. Now, it is possible, so that, you know, there's times when you're down and people have been kicking me. I mean, isn't it amazing over the last like week or two, like all the haters have come out of the word, like they're, oh my God, Jason's on one knee. Now's the time I'm going to get a kick in. Let me tell you something. I remember. I have very good memory. So, you know, like, well, you know, I'm going to trip up and fall sometimes. That's, everybody does. But when I'm on the ground and you're kicking me in the ribs, you better enjoy that kick because I will get my revenge. You can get a couple kicks in, but I am making a mental note. Enjoy it while you can because I'm not going to be on the ground forever. Now, that's when things are going wrong. But there's also, the thing you're doing is just not that motivating for you. I mean, and that happened to me a little bit with, I would say, Silicon Valley Reporter, when we went to Venture Reporter. It was boring. It was like an execution play when I did Venture Reporter. And the market was down, 9/11. You know, so that had both circumstances. Market was down. You know, I was in New York for 9/11. I had PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, it was just a dark time in everybody's life in New York. And the internet industry crashed. And people were calling me a fraud. I mean, it was brutal. And that's when I sort of found the blogging movement and said, wow, this is something interesting here. And then I started playing. So my advice to you is to find some interesting things out there and some interesting people and play a little bit and get out of your work environment and try to find some things where you can actually go experiment with something new and different. Sometimes when your head's in that, you know, sort of the same place for a long time, it does get monotonous and you're with the same people. You got to go find things outside. That's why vacation is very important. I mean, I'm a real hardworking guy, but I insist that people take vacation if they have it in a year. And literally take 5, 6, 7 days. Tyler knows because he's traveled with me around the world for the last couple of years. I always take one day, don't I? When we try to do something epic,
yeah.
we always go to the best restaurant. And, you know, being amongst friends, Thomas, sharing a meal and talking about things that are passionate and having experiences, those are the things that I find get people motivated in life. The person who wins is not the person with the most money or the most toys. It's the person with the most friends, the deepest relationships, and who has the most experiences. You need to work on friends, deepening your relationship, and having more experiences, and your life and your work will just, boom, explode. Guaranteed. Tyler, your thoughts?
Exactly.
Tyler says exactly.
No.
I'm also going to prescribe, in addition to you calling up some of your friends and saying, hey, we're going to go out on Sunday, we're going to go out and, you know, play Frisbee or go to the museum or go for a walk, and then we're going to have dinner on me and we're going to drink some wine. That's number one. You have to go out with some really interesting people and friends, make some friends, really cool. Just email them and say, hey, it's been too long. Let's go catch an old Kurosawa film and do something interesting and talk about it afterwards outside of your vertical. But I'm also going to recommend that you watch Black Hawk Down and Gladiator back to back.
I've watched them both, yeah.
But this is a very specific recommendation. Most times you don't want to mix prescriptions. Mm-hmm. This is one instance where it's complementary. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say Director's Cut, Gladiator, mm-hmm. Black Hawk Down. Doesn't matter which order you do it. What matters is that this is in the same day. You can take a little break in between, no more than half an hour, and you got to spend that 5 hours watching those two back to back. And I think you're going to be fine.
I would add another thing, which is, I find it interesting the percentage of people that are successful CEO types that I look up to, how a lot of them run.
Yeah.
And
meditative.
Yeah, but it's a very interesting percentage of people, like the CEOs in the tech space, who actually jog and run.
Yeah.
And then you start doing it yourself, and you start realizing why it clears your head completely.
Totally.
And something about the
endorphins flowing.
Yeah,
for an extended period of time.
It clears your head up, but at the same time you get focused. It's awesome.
Hey, listen, Tom Cruise is he can be a little nutty at times.
Right.
But when he was on that Today Show talking about, hey, depression and, hey, taking pills for it is not always the best thing. Mm-hmm. Diet and exercise will help.
Yep.
The truth is, even though he said it in kind of a little bit too strong of a way,
right.
It rubbed people the wrong way, the way he said it,
right.
He's right.
Yeah.
The research proves that if you go and exercise and you eat healthy food, mm-hmm. your depression will go down.
Yeah.
And if you spend more time outside with friends, doing some sort of exercise or play, depression will go down as well.
Yeah.
And so you're probably in front of the computer monitor a little bit too much.
I would say that besides the friend thing, which is very important, the exercise part and not, trying to avoid alcohol when possible, all these things in aggregate,
Yeah.
I've noticed there is quite a correlation between the guys in the game that I look up to,
Yeah.
and they're just mentally focused, physically very conscious, and it's like, it's part of the raising
truth
of
is,
the game.
if you're disciplined and a winner in your business, you're going to take a certain amount of pride in how you dress, working out, your body, your health, etc. I mean, yeah, that's going to be across the board. I mean, some people might like to take a drink every now and then, but yeah, and so the social drinking, whatever. But generally, I think you're right, and it really, really is unhealthy to be either overweight or not working out enough and being in front of that computer for too long. You can really get into a dark place where you're actually sitting in front of the computer thinking you're making progress on your life, on your startup, and you're not. And you need to get away from that computer. And this is coming from a guy who's was a proponent of working really hard. You got to get out from your norm, and you got to get exposed to different things. Thomas, did that help in any way?
Yes, I think so. And if I succeed in those, in doing these tips, we'll see us in Shark Tank soon.
Awesome. We'll look forward to it. Hey, and if you have an old business that's not working, it's not fun anymore, either sell it or shut it down, or give it to the other employees who are working on it.
Well, you can't sell it here in Germany, but I want to crush it like Gary Vaynerchuk would say it. But I think I really
you can
need
be
to go
absolutely
out
certain Gary Vaynerchuk has dark moments where he's at home going, I'm bored, I'm a fraud. Some people don't like me, whatever. And then he goes and he hangs out with his family or his friends, or he goes and speaks at a conference and he socializes and maybe breaks bread or maybe does a workout and he feels good again. Anyway, good job, and we'll talk to you next time. I hope that helped. I mean, this is a very brave question to ask.
Yeah.
You lose your motivation. It's happened to me many times. But it's usually short because you have to be self-aware as an entrepreneur. You have to know, and to thy own self be true. You have to know when you're sort of teetering on these moments and then self-correct and know what it is that takes you out of that funk. Let's go do the news. Mark Thompson, welcome to the program.
It's very exciting to be here.
Now, you are a fan of the program. You actually watch the program.
I watch the program, but I don't understand probably 90% of it. Because I'm not an entrepreneur or necessarily tech savvy, but I find little by little I learn a little something. So.
And you are like, we
this
became...
is my tip of the hat to Kevin Pollak, who wears
Yes.
this in the chat show.
Yes.
Which I also download.
We became friends playing poker as well.
Yes.
And I've known each other for a couple of years now. You obviously are on the local news here in Los Angeles.
Mainstream media, yes, soon to be obsolete, Jason, as you know. Talent. It's a sad thing. And Jason constantly reminds me of it, but...
That's on the poker table when I'm trying to win money. I'm just like, oh, so how are the layoffs going at whatever? You know?
It's pretty rough.
I'll do whatever it takes to get somebody to not pay attention to those cards.
Oddly, I cherish almost him giving me a hard time. I mean, I really do. Like, if he's not giving me a hard time, I really feel like something's wrong.
Something is wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And you, of course, people recognize your voice because if you turn on the True TV network, you are the voice of like every. Like, oh my God, these people are, any criminal doing something stupid, you're the voiceover
I
for
do
it.
a lot of voiceover stuff, a lot of Good Pets Go Bad, that was all my stuff, the whole series, When Animals Attack, anything that's a little bit edgy. I mean, for your audience, probably they grew up with a lot of the stuff that my voice is, but yeah, my voice is still on tons of stuff.
Very big on Fox. Okay, so let's go to the news. What's in the news?
Yeah, well, there are a couple of things, and I wanted to ask you, sort of in this entrepreneurial space, you know, the Windows Phone 7 OS is just out, and this is, I guess, a reboot on what they were doing, from what I understand. And I wanted to ask you from an entrepreneurial perspective, is this a tough space to get into unless you're a huge company?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to compete in the mobile space, you need to have distribution, and you need to have a lot of wherewithal because you're going up against Steve Jobs and Google. Now, Google didn't just come out of nowhere and say, hey, we're going to be a mobile company. They actually bought a small startup that built the operating system, and it was called Android. So they didn't, a lot of the products at Google, including their ad network like AdSense, that wasn't Google's product. They bought that from a Santa Monica company here called something Intelligence. Anyway, so you could build some software, et cetera, but the market is very, very competitive today. And Microsoft is even having a hard time with it, and they had to, like you said, reboot the entire product. When Microsoft starts from the bottom up, they build great product. When they have to build on the legacy of Windows, they have major problems because we're talking about 20 years, 30 years of things have been bolted on. So they used to have Windows Mobile. And if you remember, that was like the smartphone to have maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was like Palm or Windows.
Right.
And it kept crashing and freezing,
Yeah.
just like a Windows desktop. Guess what? They start over. They build it from the bottom up. It's incredibly elegant. It's incredibly powerful. And developers love it. They're developing apps really quick. I think actually it's got a decent shot of doing well because it's going to be really affordable and work with the hundreds of millions of desktops out there.
So it hasn't been tainted by the bad experience, you don't feel? Their
It
product
has.
image, in effect.
I think Microsoft has an image quality problem, sure. But I think it's getting better. I think if you look at the Xbox being just a slam dunk of a product and incredibly elegant, the Zune MP3 player, it's a beautiful, elegant product that people maybe didn't adopt. Kind of hard to get into that space up against Apple again. But I think that this one's got a chance. And the Bing search engine actually doing pretty well and has a lot of innovative, clean features, and they started from scratch again. So I think I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it's going to be a modest success, and the determining factor is going to be how many developers they can get to build games
build apps and
apps on top of it. Tyler, thoughts?
I don't know. There's a slight distrust with the Microsoft as a platform and build like developer. Why it feels, what it feels like to me is like a dentist with a candy jar.
Oh my God! Like a dentist with a candy jar,
Right.
Which you wouldn't expect a dentist who's there to protect your teeth.
Right. You go to
To
an
also
arm-
have.
And therein the metaphor works.
I always explain the metaphor for people who are. So, Microsoft
Yes.
is the dentist.
Yes.
Windows Mobile
Yes.
is the candy.
Right.
You wouldn't expect them to have something delicious.
Right. You go to a normal business, you expect the candy jar, and you feel kind of
sure.
it's like short change.
I'll take one of those Mr.
Yeah.
Goodbyes or whatever
Yes.
those are with the peanuts in
Yes.
it. Delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but when the dentist has it, it's.
Well, I mean,
what's
actually,
up here?
that's the thing. I mean, it is the thing with, it's an astute observation, perhaps even insight, because when you use Bing or you use Xbox, like the first time I turned on my Xbox, I was like, this feels like an elegant Microsoft product. It's an elegant Apple product. It's just so beautifully done. The graphics, it's seamless and it works. People feel that way about Windows 7. I think they're going to feel that way about Windows 7 Mobile.
Yeah. No, I'm going to a big event tonight that Microsoft put on. They're definitely coming out in conventional Microsoft, guns blazing, take no prisoners approach to this. So.
Yeah.
But their stuff does quack more like the elegant Apple platforms that Jason's talking about, right? I mean, now
They're
they
getting there.
found God on this.
Found God, maybe not, but I think they have very talented people who, when allowed to build from scratch, will build a very high quality product and iterate on it very well. And Microsoft can afford to lose money in certain sectors for some period of time.
That's a great point. They've
So,
got deep pockets.
and the same thing with Google. I mean, Google's like, hey, we're going to invest all this money in Chrome and not make any money from it. We're going to invest in, Android and not necessarily make any money from it. Analytics, another piece of software they offer for website owners to measure traffic, free. I mean, it's amazing what these companies are willing to give away for free to embrace users.
By the way, just because you mentioned it, you saw that Google's given away the Wi-Fi. It'll be free Wi-Fi for the holidays.
I hate this. This is infuriating. They're going to give free Wi-Fi again on all the airlines. They basically pay for it on Virgin. This is a problem for me because I get on there. I got to do work. I'm multi-tabling. I got like 4 full tilt tables. I got to get my hours in, and that's what I do when I go on my way to New York or whatever. Any flight I'm on, I take Virgin America, which I love, and I get that 3rd row seat. It's not first class, but it's like
Right.
the extra leg room, which is fine.
Do you wait to get it, or do you, because the price
You
goes
can.
down?
It does. You can get it for like 25 or $50. I generally don't because I can't risk it.
Yeah, you want to buzz in early.
I gotta do okay because you know what? If I have my laptop in one of those rows and it goes back,
Yeah.
You know, that's why I like the bulkhead row. There's no chance of your laptop. And I have work to do. I got to get like 4 tables going. I got money to make. And then everybody's on the Wi-Fi now. So when I go to New York on Christmas, everybody's going to be on the Wi-Fi. It's going to be so slow. And then some knucklehead's going to try to watch something on Hulu. And it's just going to be
That's
a
great
disaster.
point. It gets crowded when you give it away.
Absolutely. And you know what I did was, I have or Mahalo, I should say, has an account now. You can get a GoGo account for, I think it's the cost of what would be 2 trips. So now we have an account, and we have like 5, 6 people who are on there all the time. So now, for a company, I think you should register and get the monthly account from GoGo, and then share it amongst 5 people.
Oh, that's
pretty clever,
definitely
right?
the way to go. Yeah.
Like I could let you borrow my password.
Well,
I don't know how
that
they
would be
protect
nice.
against that.
I mean, you know, knock me down a little something. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Next story.
Yeah, this is a weird product that I just wanted to get your take on. IntelliTar's Virtual Eternity. Are you familiar with this?
No.
Okay, this is a service.
Virtual Eternity.
Yeah, it's essentially an AI-based animated avatar, which is based on a picture of yourself, and then answers to a questionnaire. And then this is what is left for your descendants and those who follow you long after you're deceased.
This is it right here, right? Like this weird guy?
Right, and that guy's
Oh my God.
picture, I guess, is, you know, from his actual picture, and then based on a questionnaire, this guy can actually have a conversation.
Oh my God.
With animated lips and a generic voice, and he can continue to do so long after the actual person that he's based upon is deceased. It just struck me as such an interesting.
This is unbelievable. I just asked John where you. Wow.
If you have any questions for me, just let me know.
Yeah, this is like some weird Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, it really gives you the creeps.
It's pretty creepy.
Is it just so much?
This is a gimmick.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like in a month, it won't even be.
Yeah, it's a gimmick. However, there are issues around this. Today, I wound up on Friendster somehow, and I saw a friend from New York, Judge Cal, who died a couple years ago. Tragically young, my age, maybe a little younger. A friend of Josh Harris's worked at Pseudo, the online network from the 90s. And it was very weird to just stumble across his Friendster page, and his photos are there, and his last couple of updates from 2006 are there, and people are talking to him.
Still alive.
It's like a ghost. I mean,
yeah, right.
So we're going to have, I think that's the digital ghost sort of trend of, you know, and I had this experience when I had to delete somebody from my phone who had died. I don't know if you've had that experience yet. It is a very surreal moment when because I used to type in this person's name, and it was somebody's father who happened to have their phone number, and it was an ex-girlfriend's father, and he died. And I would type in this other person's name, and he would always be underneath it, you know, because it was like Michael this, Michael that, whatever. And so I'd see my other Michaels, and I'd see him there. I'm like, I got to delete this at some point. But then you feel really guilty when you delete somebody from your phone. And have you guys had that experience yet?
Yeah, I can't do it.
You can't do it.
Delete them. I can't.
So you leave the number in there.
Yeah.
What happens if you accidentally dial someday and somebody picks up?
I mean, that's probably the easiest thing to do.
This is a short story. We always come up with great ideas on this thing, like Teenage Billionaire.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a TV show, Teenage Billionaire.
I love the title.
I trademarked the title already.
I love the title.
It's being trademarked. I got all the domain names. But this would be a great Twilight Zone kind of episode or short film. The person dies. He decides he's going to delete it. It says confirm. He says no.
The guy picks up.
But then the guy picks up.
Yeah, you're right.
And the guy picks up and says, "Listen, I'm in heaven, and God gave me one wish, and my one wish was that you would call me, I would have a connection to you, and I've been waiting for 18 years for you to call me. What took you so long?"
I love that.
That is insane. Somebody has permission.
That's totally Twilight Zone too.
It is totally Twilight Zone. And then the guy, but what if? But only he can talk to him. So he can't, like his wife or the guy's kids. So he goes to him and says, "Listen, I got your husband on the phone. And they're taking him away and they're pulling him away. I got him on the phone. No, he's right here. He wants to know about this."
Right. It's like the Twilight Zone episode where the guy beats Minnesota Fats in pool. He goes up to heaven, and he's telling everybody he beats him, and of course no one believes him because Minnesota Fats is dead, but he actually did beat him in pool.
All right, next story.
All right. This is the Facebook Google pissing match that they're in. You know, regarding data.
Right.
So Facebook is piling up all this data. And Google is essentially pissing back, and Google shut them down. And I'm really curious to get your take on where this is all going to shake out, because it has big implications for the competitive environment, right? The minute one restricts, then the other almost has to restrict.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's happening here is, you know, when you do that first onboarding process and say, I'm joining Facebook. They
And
say,
I
oh, check,
authorize this and
yeah,
that.
check my Gmail and I'll find my friends. Well, basically, Gmail in your inbox is a social network. So Friendster, Facebook has been built off of that. So Google feels like, well, if you built your social network off of us, we should be able to go into Facebook and have people log into our service with Facebook and find their friends and rebuild the social graph. Zuckerberg feels that, and the investors, and you hear them talk about it all the time, that the social graph that they have mapped out, that is their golden egg, and that they must protect it. So they don't want, they pretend that you can use the service anywhere, but really they don't want that being exported. So they came out with an export tool that lets you take your photos out and take your status updates out. It doesn't let you take out your friend list for a reason. And so I think Google's right for doing this, and I think what you're going to see is a lot of companies are going to start protesting Facebook's approach to the internet. I've been critical of it for over a year, and now you're starting to see the rubber is meeting the road, where actually people are saying, I don't want to work with this company anymore. And my advice to startup companies that are forcing people to use Facebook Connect is you should not make that your primary login process. I wanted to use this new browser that came out this week, and it said you have to use your Facebook login. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to pass. I'm not going to use it, because I feel like they're just getting a little too powerful, and the way they use their power is unjust and sneaky, and thus the lawsuits.
Well, and I'm sorry, Tyler, go ahead if you want to weigh in on
No,
that.
it's going to take time, like you said, for this to pan out. These aren't the kind of things where, it feels like the battle hasn't even really started yet. It's just the sort of first little Cold War.
Exactly.
North Korea and South Korea staring at each other at the DMZ.
It's exactly that. It's going to be a Cold War. I mean, it's going to be a freeze-out. It's going to be a mutual freeze-out.
Well, Facebook could, let's say Facebook with their questions product and everything winds up having a lot of pages. They could say, we're not going to allow Google to index them. Or Google could say, we're just not going to index Facebook. Either way. Not that Facebook gets a lot of traffic from Google. It's a social network. They generally don't. But you're going to start seeing things like that as well.
And they both, Facebook, I shouldn't say they both, but Facebook and Twitter, two hugely popular social networking sites, both failed a very high-profile security test. And we've known about this for a long time, and the security is so weak on these sites. But I guess, is it Firesheep is the...
extension.
Yeah, right. And apparently, both Facebook and Twitter don't encrypt data all the time. And they end up essentially being very, very easy sites to hack entire contact lists also.
Yeah, it's a problem. It will be solved because it's going to be such bad PR for such a long period of time, and the tools to hack are going to get easier and easier. So you don't need to be a hacker to use the hacking tools.
It's sort of here already, isn't it?
And it's here, and thank God it is. I mean, I applaud the person who wrote this, because if it's easy for 1% of the population to pick a lock, everybody should know that bike lock is pickable, so that they're at least protected and know not to expect, some level of security. People should be aware of this. It's making them aware of it. And all they have to do is add a lot more servers so that the connection is HTTPS.
Exactly.
That S is for security, and that's what Gmail uses. But you have to realize these services are not making a ton of money relative to the amount of money they're spending. So for Facebook with their usage, or Twitter with their usage, to support HTTPS, it's not insignificant. I don't know if they have to double their infrastructure or triple it, but they're going to have to use a lot more infrastructure, and it will slow things down, and that's why people aren't using it. My advice, never use an open Wi-Fi network, ever. Everybody should have a Verizon MiFi or some,
if it's not a password protected
if it's not password
Wi-Fi,
protected, do not use it.
No.
It is a huge mistake. I can tell you, at the DEF CON conference, Hackaday, which is a blog I own and was part of Weblogs Inc., they got hacked at... this is a hacking blog, got hacked at DEF CON because one of the contributors, after we told them over and over again, do not go on an open network and only log into the HTTPS site, went through an open network, and they got him. And then they pawned the site, and we obviously, it wasn't that big of a deal, but if you're going on an open network, you're crazy. And really, identity theft is very significant. The information you have inside of your Facebook account, and this is why I took all my information out of Facebook, and I don't put a lot of my personal information out there. I mean, they're going to be able to spoof it. I mean, people know what my mother's maiden name is probably. Right. They can figure that out. They know what town I grew up in. They know my dog's names, and you know everybody. So if your secret question on one of these services is your mother's maiden name, your dog's name, or where you were born, that's not good enough. That's not secure enough. And I change my passwords monthly. I mean, I'm becoming paranoid about security.
No, you make a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you keep all your passwords in one place?
I do not.
You don't have like you don't have a text document or something with all your
no. I have a system which I rotate through passwords, and so many times I will forget my password for a service, and I have to reset it. I'm constantly resetting passwords because I'd rather do that, and I use very, obscure passwords with randomization and exclamation points and asterisks and all kinds of other weird characters, which is what everybody's going to get to because you need to do something strong. I also don't keep anything online that I am not comfortable with everybody reading. So I will not email something unless, when I email something, I assume that it will be public. And with this Mike Arrington lawsuit, it probably will be. Okay, last story.
Last story is about GroupMe. And this really goes to sort of the essence of your show, which is really about entrepreneurship and venture cap and all this other stuff, which I barely understand. But you can perhaps educate me. GroupMe is raising money. It's going to place its valuation close to $30 million. And GroupMe is that service, of course, that allows you to text a group of people through.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to kind of give me the state of the state on this, because I guess they're having a little between venture capitalists.
Yeah, bidding war.
Right.
Yeah. So this happens once in a while. A startup will come out that people look at and go, this thing has incredible potential, and the usage curve is going like this. And if you happen to get the hockey stick curve, where usage is going off the charts, and a venture capitalist who, let's face it, not the most creative people in the world, that's why they're venture capitalists, they're bankers essentially, when they start seeing that, which you're not going to be able to see on TV, but anyway.
The hockey stick is a good,
the hockey stick,
in other words, it's steeply going up.
Steeply going up like a hockey stick. And when they can see that breaking point, they have seen that movie before, and they look at it and say, you know what, if this company's worth 10 to 15 million right now, I'm willing to pay a little bit further up the hockey stick because that kind of momentum's not going to stop. So it's sort of like a poker hand where you've got a flush draw and a straight draw and you already have a pair and it's top pair and you're like, my God, I think there are more cards in the deck that help me than don't. And so you're in the hand. You're not. And,
you're willing to invest in that hand. And you may. Situation.
And you have your turn. You have your flop bet, your turn bet, and your river bet. You may just take your turn and your river bet if there's people ahead of you who are betting, and just put them all together and say, you know what, I'm gonna include the next two cards in this raise. And that's really what happens in a case like this. The VCs get on tilt, and they get competitive. Interestingly enough, very simple idea. Nothing proprietary about it. Very easy to duplicate. You could duplicate this in a week or two. A couple of programmers, well, maybe a month, let's say. But a great domain name, great branding, and obviously some good usage. UPOC, universalpointofconnection.com, was a company by Gordon Gould that did this exact same thing in 99, 2000. It was basically group SMS. But nobody knew how to use SMS back then, and most phones didn't support it. Now this is ready for prime time, and it's also a reaction to social networks like Facebook being too public. And this is
I see.
This is this is basically replacing what you were using your face wall on Facebook for, and that's what these investors see. They see a private social network in groups like this. Oh, these are just my poker buddies. Oh, these are just I'm a teacher. I was talking to somebody because I'm investing in a portal for gay men. And that's going to be great. Like, people are going to be like, oh, is Jason coming out of the closet? I'm not coming out of the closet, just for the record.
No, that'll come later.
That'll come later.
Yeah.
But I have to invest in this company because I'm absolutely sure that they're going to win. Anyway, teacher who is gay goes out for the weekend and then has their students friending them on Facebook.
Right.
And they showed this person what their friend could see, and they're like, oh my God, you can see me at the Halloween party, and the sailor boys dressed, and all of a sudden, there's like, this guy's a 5th grade teacher.
Lederhosen with the butt cheeks cut
and you know
out.
what?
Right.
That's what people are starting to realize is what Zuckerberg did to everybody by turning their privacy off and flipping the whole system and making the defaults public and sort of doing it in a very smarmy way is going to make new startups and new services emerge. Something like this could take a real huge dent out of a Facebook.
So this GroupMe could be a private, in a sense, it's a private universe for you.
Yeah, private mailing list. So we could, let's say we have a bunch of poker buds. We can make a list, poker buds, and it's just me, you, and 10 other people. And when we're talking poker, we're just like, hey, I just lost this hand for $3,000. Oh my God, I just won this hand for $3,000. Blah 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 blah. Who's going to play in the, who's going to Vegas this weekend? And it's only to us. Because you don't want them. I don't want I have my employees following me.
You're absolutely
I don't want
right.
them to see that
you're a degenerate
that I'm a
gambler.
degenerate gambler. Playing for large sums of money. It makes me look like a jerk.
No, but to be fair to you, it's really the impression that's given. Like you're not a degenerate gambler, but you don't want people who don't really understand that to perhaps think that.
I'm pretty degenerate.
Let me just ask you. I have a last question. I have a last venture cap question.
Yeah.
Those that are left at the curb, venture capitalists in this bidding war, who don't get it.
Right.
You talk about this technology being sort of easily replicated. Why don't they rush in and try to fill the void quickly?
They do. These are called, also companies, also RANs, and you do see that a lot. People will not get into one startup that's in a space, and they'll pick the second, they'll pick the Yahoo to the Google, or, whatever it happens to be. However, you generally don't want to bet the second horse. If they're in second place already, things move, But look at Groupon. This is like the lead horse.
Sure.
Living Social and the other 10 people in that deal space, they're going to all be acquisition targets. So it's sort of like, I'm not going to win a big hand here, but I might win a small hand. So you'll see that. And that's okay. It's competition makes everybody better. So Group Me will have 10 competitors, I'm sure. And 2 of them will hit any type of critical mass. And that's good. It's good to have those people. It's almost like the people who are copying you validate you,
I think it's brilliant, but for sort of the record, it's not that they're copying the Japanese ones, but this is actually quite Japanese.
This has existed for a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, the idea of like much smaller, more private social networks has been going on in Japan for quite a while, and that's why Facebook is having a hard time in Japan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and why they did the groups thing, and why they made the groups thing so aggressive. You can add anybody to any group without asking them if they're a friend. And I had somebody add me and Mark Zuckerberg and Mike Arrington to the NAMBLA group, National Man Boy Love Association group, and people took screenshots of it, and it was pretty funny. Do we have any more stories?
That's it.
More?
I mean, that was the
All
last
right,
one,
good.
so.
Amazing job. Thank you so much for doing it. I know that you
my
are.
My honor and a pleasure to be here. I'm a fan, and it's
welcome to the new world.
It's cool to be in the belly of the beast. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like what you do, except without money, and without and the donuts. And whatever. I mean, you basically have a full stocked cafeteria and everything there, right?
It's terrific. Yeah, all I do is eat and drink coffee all day. Yeah.
It's awesome. And then you're on air for.
Hey! It's not when you're on the air. It's the prep time. Look.
I know, but I'm just saying it's interesting. On this show, doing the news and having a discussion is probably 3 times longer than you're on the air
for a whole week or 2 weeks.
Really? Wow! Amazing. I mean, that's really the interesting part about all this.
But really great to hang with you guys, and it's really cool out there in Mahalo land. So.
Yeah, things are booming. Thank you to SendGrid for sponsoring the program. Always great to have a new advertiser. And listen, they're crushing it on transactional email. You can use them just like Foursquare, Hootsuite, Tyler, and other folks are using them. And thank you to Storm On Demand. And I think, when are we putting up that bonus episode of Tony Hsieh and Jen Lim? When is that coming out? Does anybody know? It didn't come out yet, right? This week. Okay, so this week, look for a bonus episode. And this Friday, we're getting a guest. We can't say yet because it's 90% confirmed. Okay. We'll see you next time on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.